everyone, to another episode of Arena STL here on this fine month of July. I'm hoping everyone here near the St. Louis area is doing okay. We had a lot of flood warnings, a tornado warning here in Jefferson County and Festus, and boy, hopefully is everything okay. And I saw a few of people nearby at their workplaces that it was flooded right in the street. So hopefully everyone is doing okay today. Before we get into last week's results of the for the finals in the Arena Football League and who played the right to play in Arena Bowl 33, I wanted to announce something that was announced by be one of the expansion teams that looks like that will be playing the Arena Football League next year in 2025. That, of course, is the Arizona Bandits. And they put out on their social media on Facebook as so. For those who following the AFL closely, we are currently working on an agreement between our organization and the new leadership of the AFL. We are anxious to share information about where the Bandits will call home for the 2025 season. Coaches we've been in promising conversations with, look for these announcements soon. There's a lot of exciting things happening behind the scenes to build a solid football organization and be ready to hit the ground running April 2025. As for that being said, please support the current AFL. They are really doing a great job transitioning to new leadership. The goal is to create a league that truly represents the amazing fans, players, owners, and employees we have, and at the same time give you the best damn indoor football experience out there. Thank you for all the support. So, as of right now, there are only, if you include Israel Bats, there actually would be 9 teams in the AFL. So that comes to the question, like, what other teams are they going to get for the following season? Because interesting enough, I've talked to a few people, and of course, before the whole Lee Hutton stuff that had caused a collapse with the new iteration of the Arena Football League, but now they have Jeff Fisher and new people going on. It's now come to question what is the next step here. And one of the other teams beside the Arizona Bandits that was announced for 2025 was the Chicago Rush. The Chicago Rush haven't really been posting at all since last year. So it comes to question if this is like, is there something happened with the owner? Because they originally supposed to be for 2024. Then right after announcement at the press conference in New York City, they decided to say, okay, we need extra time, and then there'll be a team at 2025. Now it's like, will this actually happen? And with the current ownership of what was planned for Chicago Rush, because like I said, neither of their shows, Facebook, X, Twitter, have not been responsive. All Arizona Bandits, like they have been like doing everything since the beginning of the season, even after the whole deal with Lee Hutton. So it comes to mind is like, what is going on here? So it comes to question because I'm just going to say, as of right now, they only have 9 teams, and of course, Arizona Bandits, Albany Firebirds, Billings Outlaws, Nashville Cats, Orlando Predators, Salina Liberty, Southwest Kansas Storm, Washington Wolfpack, and the Wichita Regulators. And it comes to me thinking here, okay, how's this going to work for next year? Because you're going to have to put more teams just for location wise, because in the Central, you just have the 3 Kansas teams. In the West, you only have the Outlaws and honestly the Arizona Bandits on the West side, and Washington Wolfpack, I almost forgot. Then in the East, it's just Albany, Nashville, Orlando, and am I missing one? No, that's about it. So they're going to have to fill some spots there, and like there were some people like because it's not just the Arena Football League, there's other leagues too. Because with Zach last week, we talked about the merge of the National Arena League and the AIF. Because now they have 9 teams, and there was like discussions of like, okay, so like there's only 9 teams, so they're going to add another, and it's rumored they're going to have one in the South. And someone posted like Missouri or like somewhere close to like Louisiana. Of course, I posted because like remember the Arena Football League was supposed to have St. Louis originally in that main announcement. Then, of course, like the Family Arena St. Charles says, like it's going to be played here. They still had a contract, and that didn't happen. And of course, now with former Philadelphia Soul head coach Pat Pimmel at an interview, like I mentioned before, they actually were supposed to. He was actually supposed to be the St. Louis Arena football coach, and then I put out there like St. Louis would be good for any of the arena leagues, not just for fan base, but for location. It's right in the center and it helps for traveling costs. For any sport, St. Louis would be a good spot. But it comes to mind because while I was doing that, come to some information that apparently there was some talk of ownership of the Iowa Rampage, my dude, St. Louis as well, but that turned into a no, and they plan to do that later, like what Lee Hutton said before. Then I was like, oh, the Iowa Rampage ownership. We've seen how that turned out. Not good. So I'm glad that did happen. So if there are plans for any leagues for St. Louis area to get a team, and I do think there's a good possibility the Arena Football League will actually take another good look, especially for location's sake. And I just think that it would be good to have it there and just try to, because I could guarantee you having a rivalry with the St. Louis team and Nashville Kits because of the Jeff Fisher involvement, that's money. That's just pure money. All right. Now let's get to the semifinals of the Arena Football League here because believe it or not, what I predicted would happen in those games happened in reverse of the matchups. It was actually quite amazing because it's like you didn't expect Salina and Albany to be a offensive shootout, and it was just like, what the heck's going on here? Because honestly, Salina and Albany shouldn't have been this close because how they played. Albany is the old-fashioned, like hard pounding arena style, while Selena, like how the commentators kind of put it between them and the Kansas Store game the week before, kind of like a college style, because they do more of like out the shotgun, do the pitches, and strangely, one thing too. Has anybody ever realized that there's a lot more wide receiver screenplays in the Arena Football League? Because like even I'm like, because even though it's supposed to be quick, it's just like it's taking a lot. It's just like I see them a lot more often. But I digressed. And the first game, of course, happened at, of course, early afternoon on the CBS Sports Network, and I can't explain enough. It's so good to have like professional commentators and stuff for these games. YouTube, like the local commentators did fine, but you just can't beat a professional organization as CBS and the people on CBS Sports Network. I give them a huge thumbs up on their performances. Oh, there's another thumbs up there. Hello. So it just was good. And like I said before, like because Selena's quarterback, he's known for running, but it's quite amazing. Both Selena's quarterback, McCollum, and Jake Medlock for Albany Firebirds had almost the exact same passing yardage, 266 for McCulloch and Medlock 269. And they both threw for 5 touchdowns, so it was like, man, and it was like it just kept going back and forth, back and forth. Let me bring up that summary I had here before. Where did that go? Oh yeah, here we go. Because first quarter it was 13-15 Albany, and then second quarter they both scored the same 29 points each. Then in the third quarter, Albany gets 15 and Selena gets 5. Fourth quarter, 12 on Selena and 21 for Albany. 80-59 was the final score. Very good game, offensive both on the running and passing too, because Albany does have that big running back. He got in to score as well. Medlock got in I believe, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. And one thing too, Albany signed new player Isaiah Scott, who played for the West Texas Dallas not the Firebirds, Desert Hawks, which is now That's also a team that's a little bit kind of funny because they're no longer in Arena Football League because of the owner, like they're shutting down, but yet their Facebook page is doing something kind of different in there. It's a little bit confusing, but I'm disappointed how they weren't able to go on. I think they were a good franchise, though. To be clear, there were some question marks because of the whole NAL thing. Because remember, they had that lawsuit going on with the National Arena League, and heck, they almost did not weren't able to play by a judge until they settled it out of court. So Albany wins this game here, goes and plays the right to play in Arena Bowl 33, and I'll just say this. It would be a tremendous storyline if Albany does win the Arena Bowl championship. Because essentially, with their name Firebirds, even though it was an original name, literally like Firebirds Phoenix, rising from the ashes, because you have to remember a year before, this was actually the Albany Empire because it had the same ownership until Antonio Brown came in and messed everything up. Everything up. Yeah, Michael, AFL should be open to any all potential markets with legitimate ownership. Stable show and leadership is a necessity. Yes, it is. Uh, it it just would be good. And I'm still hoping both me, Zach, and a few other people in the community are waiting for because a documentary about that whole thing with Antonio Brown and the Albany Empire. Because you have to remember, with Antonio Brown, his father was an arena player. So for this to happen, and especially all that mess, like it would just be good for Albany for a good story, like the whole thing with the Empire went down, and then with the Firebirds winning the Arena Bowl 33, it would be a pretty good storyline. Now, for we go into Saturday night or AFL at night, as some people have put it, between the Nashville Cats and the Billing and the Billing Outlaw. If you were to tell me this would have been a defensive game, I would not have believed you. I was shocked and a few others of how a defensive standstill of a game this was. Because there was no score at all in the first quarter. And when you look at the stats of the players here, especially with the quarterbacks, it's just like there was barely any passing, especially in arena standards. Like you have Randy Hippert, of course, came out of retirement just like after 5 years, only a few weeks ago. And of course, it was kind of funny when he came, they actually beat the Billings Outlaws, then come back. And Hibbert, threw for 185 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then you got Billings Isaiah Harker threw 164 and 3 touchdowns as well. And it's just kind of interesting because with this game, because the last game with Albany, of course, like I would put as my MVP for the Arena Football League, of course, is Darius Prince. The big like star player for Billings was, of course, with Derek Harvey. He didn't really do anything in this game, and I was shocked. Shocked. And it was just kind of like, what the heck's going on here? One thing though, I would like to admit that I was actually surprised that Billings was only able to get 37 yards rushing with this defensive standstill going on. And of course, like I said, first quarter it was 0-0. Second quarter, both scored the same. Strangely, both teams scored the same in the second quarter, 14-14. And in this game, it came to remind us because even with my knowledge of real football rules, you also have to remember with the netting that if a quarterback passes the ball and it reflects off the net, it's still a live ball. And it was just like, then it was just kind of amazing to see like the wide receiver like, oh, it's gone live and missed it in the second quarter. And it was just like a defensive standstill. Then you got, of course, in the third quarter, Nashville gets like, I believe it was a deuce, but Billings scored 12. Then you got Nashville coming back in the fourth quarter, scoring 16. Billings scored about 6 more points there. Then to have the game end at the field goal at the end to send Billings to Arena Bowl 33. Because here's the thing about this matchup between Albany and Billings. They're both, especially when it comes to arena football, small markets. Because, like, Albany is in New York, but when you think of, like, the New York market, you think of NYC, the island of Manhattan. So kind of small. Billings, Montana. Now that is small. Like it's not small as the teams with the Arena League, but it is small. So it's like good story here with like these two small like small like market type places coming to face each other. And let's not forget, the Arena Bowl 33 is in a neutral site and of course in like the New Jersey area at the American Dream Shopping Center, just to remind people that here are the photos of that arena. All right, here we go. Because you kind of got like a shopping mall design and all that here. Like, this isn't the final renderings of it, as I said before in the previous episode. It just gives you a good idea what it's going to be like here. Because this is without the netting, without what the seating's going to be and all that here. So it's just going to be interesting too. And also with this game here, it's going to be kind of early. Like it's still going to be on CBS Sports Network, still going to be on live TV and all, and it's going to be at 4:30 Friday evening. 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. Let me be clear. And it's just going to be interesting to see how this comes together. Like, will there be other information coming out of Arena Bowl 33? And we have to remember, this is the first Arena Bowl since 2019. 5 years. 5 years in between these two. It's going to be interesting, and it's a very good matchup. Like, and when it comes to, because 2 weeks ago I mentioned like what are the prices for the tickets. Let me get that list here, because it's a little bit different of how they have it, because it's more on levels than assigned seatings. Because some of them are stands, some are bleachers. Yeah, here we go. Standing room only and some seating here, because the lowest ones are $20 on level 3. Because as a reminder, the setup for the championship game is kind of like it's in a shopping center. It's 3 levels. You got standing room on level 3 for $20. Level 2 standing room 25. Seated on level 2 for 50. Then you got $50 for field level. That's the bottom level, level 1 for $50. And then you got the bleacher seats for 75. So it's going to be interesting to see the layout Friday evening. And for my pick, I just have to go with Albany Firebirds here because of it's just a perfect story, especially like coming back from the whole destruction that caused. Oh, where can we watch the bowl? Yes. Where can you watch the bowl? It is on CBS Sports Network, DJP. CBS Sports Network. And Chris says, you don't need a merge, but at least have agreements to have the same rules unilaterally. Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, he kind of brings up a point of how a lot of these arena leagues have very different rules. Like, that does remind me because the other league, the Indoor Football League, they're about to have their playoffs here soon after, because this is their last regular week, because there's still like about, I think, 3 to 4 teams still trying to find the perfect seating. And one big announcement that was kind of interesting that because throughout the whole sports things, we're getting like news about uniforms and like apparel and stuff. And they just announced just shortly before the show they're going with Adidas. It was Adidas and Games One for teams uniform apparel. I'm just glad it's not Fanatics because I have a feeling that Fanatics deal with the other major pro sports. That's going to bite them in the butt, especially with the quality. It happened with the Major League Baseball here a few moments ago, and then a few months ago, and then Hockey's releasing theirs, so fingers crossed on that. So it's going to be interesting on that. And like I said, my pick is the Albany Firebirds to beat the Billings Outlaws on Arena Bowl this Friday night. And I expect pretty good game there. Of course, you've got Darius Prince versus uh, versus Derek Harvey. That's going to be a very good matchup. And honestly, between those two players and the two quarterbacks, that'll probably be the Arena Bowl MVP. And it will also be good to see the Arena Bowl trophy again because people remember it's pretty big. It's kind of an in between a Stanley Cup and it's pretty big. So here's hoping to see it again here on Friday evening. We're going to take a little bit of a commercial break and talk a little bit of the Arena League here.
Same great taste. Yes, same great taste. Same great taste.
And welcome back. Now we're getting to with the Arena League, probably the most late part of the season. And of course, once again, I said with previous episodes, four teams, they're just basically just fighting for seeding as of right now for all the four teams. Of course, going over from the previous results here, you had the Kansas City Goats in another battle Missouri matchup, beating the Lunkers 78-45. This game had, like I said before, these play kind of like what the Saline Liberty does. They're all in shotgun, a lot of pitch passes or pitch runs and that type of stuff. Like, I like the Arena League, but it's getting kind of like predictable with some of the teams that keep just doing like the same thing over and over again, but that's how it's played. And I can't really complain about that, but it's still quite amazing to see how they do all that stuff. And it's just like it's still entertaining, and I'm still hoping for the best for this league because it's still in its infancy, and like it's still been entertaining, but it's still kind of hard to get used to watch because remember there's no kickers and basically there's no linemen, even though Ozark Lunkers still have a big center. It's just that most of the other ones basically have a long snapper for for their teams to hike the ball, and it's hard. It's like it's getting hard to used to seeing the quarterback even more farther than a regular shotgun formation. So the second game, you have the Iowa Woo losing to the Harbor Monsters to a close game, 52-41. Because first game you basically got 1 and 2 facing each other, and 3 and 4. Because after this, here are the standings. Number 4, Iowa Woo, 1 and 5. You basically have a tie, but there's like a little bit of a tiebreaker with a victory over the other, with the Harbor Monsters 3 and 3 at 3, the Ozark Lunkers also at 3 and 3 at number 2, and then of course you got the Kansas City Goats at 5 and 1. So it's just going to be kind of interesting how they play here within on out here because they only have this week and next week, and then you got the it's basically semifinals for the first round of playoffs, and then the winner, and they claim the first winner of the first I believe, if I remember correctly, the championship of, yeah, the Arena League championship is called Arena Mania. Guess there's have some type of pro wrestling thing there. So Arena Mania, yeah. So it's going to be interesting in the next few weeks about that. So, and of course, the next matchups here you have the Ozark Lunkers going to Duluth, and then the Kansas City Ghosts going to Iowa. So it's just going to be kind of interesting because, like I said, this is just seeing because it's still not set in stone because you got these two games, and because the Lunkers or the Harbor Monsters could actually, if the Kansas City Ghosts lose their two games, could actually tie it up here and just go through a tiebreaker there. So that's going to be kind of interesting. And that's about it. The one thing, because pretty soon here, the Arena STL here on Fuel Sports are going to be going to hiatus soon, because pretty soon, like after this, Arena Bowl's done. Then you only got a few weeks of Arena League, but I might be talking. There's a guest I'm going to be bringing in next week to talk about the Indoor Football League when the playoffs come around, just to bring a little bit of gap there, because there is some good matchups, especially in Indoor Football League. Dear Lord, how many teams have the same record as in my mind right now, especially when it comes to seeding. Because, an example, there was a good game between the Las Vegas Nighthawks and Northern Arizona, and Las Vegas able to pick it out there in order to clinch a victory there. So I'll be happy to guest to discuss the Indoor Football League, especially when it comes to Vegas here. So, as I said before, we got the Arena Bowl here on the CBS Sports Network. Let me remind you, CBS Sports Network, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central, Albany versus Billings. And like I said, this should be a good way to end what was no one can predict how this season was going to be. Even I couldn't predict the whole type of thing that Lee Hutton did to that basically scammed a lot of the owners here. Because remember, he touted out like this as the next, like bring this back and stuff, and coming out with basic what was basically bullshit because he wanted to do something with virtual reality, like I don't even and something with the Olympics when it comes to arena football, not this Olympics in Paris, I'm preparing the ones in LA the next forward. So who knows if that's still happening or even that's even in the mind of the new leadership. Because right after this is done, they're going to focus on the next season. And just to be clear, they're still going to try to repair the damage of what Lee Hutton caused. And it's going to be still be a high road to fix the problems. But I think that with this new leadership, they have a chance to. Heck, they hired more people, and honestly, I think Lee Hun just took a lot of positions just in order to save money or save the money he might have allegedly took, if you will. So it's going to be a good Friday evening, good weekend of arena football of all the, like I said, for the Arena League on Friday, then you got the IFL and the AL on Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to get interesting here because, believe it or not, it's hard to believe we're already midway through the summer season, and pretty soon it's going to be fall here. Then you're going to see a switch from indoor to outdoor football in ways of sports and stuff, and it's an interesting time, and I'm just surprised of how quick is it's actually going right now. So thank you for joining me for this week's edition of Arena STL. See you next week while we discussed the Arena Bowl 33 champion. And like I said, my prediction, the Albany Firebirds. Let's see if I'm correct. See you all next week.